is the hole that the tensioner came out of. There's a plug that you have to dig out first. I managed to get that out okay. Man, I struggled to get to that position there. I left the alternator connected and I've just moved it forward, so I didn't disconnect any cables. I thought that'd be the easiest way. Didn't really want to disconnect the battery and disconnect all of the cables, so don't want to go to that much trouble. So all I've done is just move the alternator forward. There's enough movement on the cables to do that. It allows me to get my socket in there. I think a 17mm socket from memory was on the tensioner. And I did remove the power steering pump. I've just also let that come forward to give me good access down here. Only 3 bolts holding the power steering pump in place. I took the heat shield off there as well. That gave me a bit more access. Probably don't need to do that after I did actually manage to move it. So there's everything sort of forward. So if you're thinking about doing this, I found there's enough room there to get my tools in there to take the tensioner out, and I'll have no trouble putting the new tensioner back in without having to physically take the alternator out of the car. Taking the alternator out of the car is a bit, I suppose it's okay. It comes out front, and then just bring it up out the top here. I've done worse, but the bottom bolts on this thing were bloody hard to get to, really hard. My Torx sockets wouldn't get in there. I used a little ratchet 10mm open end, so ring spanner with a little ratchet drive in it. That was the best tool to pull those bolts out. The ones from the top weren't so bad. I managed to get those out with my socket, 1/4 inch drive to get them there. So I guess the time to get the alternator out was about an hour and a half, I guess, on its own, just that one part. So here's the old tensioner and my nice new tensioner. So when it comes to the chain, there's no tension at all on the chain now. When it comes to the chain, I might just tack that tensioner back in again. It's easy to get it in and out. It's just hand. You can actually get it up a hand after you've taken the pressure off. Just a couple of turns on my socket, and then I just spun it out with my fingers, so it wasn't too hard to get out. So I'll spin it back in again now that I know I've got good access down there, just so that my chain sits nice and firm around the sprockets as I drag my new chain in from this side here. I'm waiting for my little joiner with the little C-clips to arrive. My kit come with a with the little temporary joiner. Unfortunately though, it's for a double width chain, double link width chain, and I can't use it on here because it's going to foul up as it goes around through the engine. It'll stick out too wide, so that's a bit of a nuisance. I don't want to do any other sort of lash up, tie up or anything with it. I want to make sure I don't have any problems with the timing, so I'm just going to be patient. It should be here in a couple of weeks, I hope. In the meanwhile, I'll just use that time to think about how I'm going to do the rest of the job. Probably will end up taking this front piece here off. May even see if I can get down far enough to take the cam guide off on this side as well. This one's very easy to get out. It's only got the one pin which holds it in at the top, and it sort of swings like that with the tension of pushing it that way against the chain to hold the chain nice and tight. whereas this other one here is a fixed guide. It's got one, I think it's got one peg at the top, and I think it's got another one at the bottom, or maybe two on the way down to the bottom. So yeah, is this car easy to work on? Well, you just got to take your time, get those covers off the bottom, get in there quietly, and just take your time. I found it not too bad. It's beautifully engineered. Everything is just lovely, the way it's all built and the way everything's clipped and run, and you know, it's a lovely engine bay actually. But yeah, it's not a quick job, that's for sure. But at least on a rear-wheel drive car, I've got good access to the front of the engine. Imagine doing these when it's actually east-west, tied up against the side of the frame rail. Oh, what a pain it would be. So this is not too bad. So yeah, that's just a little update on where I am right now. I'll just hand tighten the tensioner back in there again, just to sort of lift the chain up so it doesn't have any problems falling off the bottom sprocket. Actually, I don't think it can fall off the bottom sprocket. I think there's a little shoe or something down there that keeps it on the bottom. But I'll be very careful anyway. I don't want to have any problems where I've got to dig down further and to get down to that area of the engine. That's for sure. That's quite a big job to get down that far. The work that I'm doing up here is basically a handy person's job. It's not hard at all. Basic tools. The biggest thing is the investment in the Mercedes chain link removal tool and riveting tool. I'll show you that a little bit later in another video. It's a lovely piece of equipment. Cannot do this job without it, really. I've seen some guys hammering with a ball pen hammer these links, and there's no way I'm going to go to that type of activity. I'm going to do this properly so that I can box this up knowing that there's not going to be any issues with it in the future. So yeah, I was quoted $6,000 by Mercedes here in Auckland to do this job. Had it been a couple of $1,000s, I was probably going to just consider it, just walk in, walk out, but $6,000 just seemed absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what they were going to do for that money. I guess they would have just naturally replaced the sprockets, the cam sprockets, chain, bottom chain, all of the guides. But even all of that only comes to about $1,000 in parts. So yeah, there are other companies which do European cars which I think are, you know, more sensible, just a couple of $3,000. But anyway, this whole job here will probably cost me just hundreds by the time I'm completely finished, and it'll certainly be better than what it is currently, and good for, you know, a number of kilometers to come. So thank you very much for viewing. Hopefully this is of interest to those of you that are you know, on my channel for my Mercedes videos. A little bit different from my motorbike videos, a little bit different from our cockatiel. And but this is something that I enjoy doing. I like working on engines. Even though I'm an electrician, I think that this is one of my sort of interests. I do enjoy working on engines in my spare time. Okay, I'll catch you a little bit later on.